good evening. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce myself. I am Ngamiso Ngampalala. I'm from the Kingdom of Eswatini. I am an economist by training, and I work for the Ministry of Economic Planning and Development. And I will be your moderator for our today's side event, which is titled Assisting Climate Vulnerable Countries in Developing Agricultural Supply Chains that are low carbon and water efficient. I hope we are all here for that event. Maybe just to briefly introduce our side event. Some of the sobering statistics point out that about 1/3 of anthropogenic greenhouse gases come from agriculture food systems. And about 70% of water use goes towards irrigation systems. So our side event here today is trying to address how, given these two statistics, we can help our small scaleholder farmers whom we know are the one mostly involved in agriculture production as well as irrigation, how we can help them transition from current agricultural practices with a more focus on low carbon sustainable agricultural production systems as well as water efficient technologies. So the organizer of this event is the Kingdom of Eswatini in partnership with the Taiwan Institute of Sustainable Energy. I've already mentioned I'm your moderator for today, and I would like to welcome our esteemed panelists, and may I also take the pleasure to introduce our panelists. So to my left, I have the PS of the Ministry of Agriculture, Mr. Sidney Simelane. And after Mr. Sidney Simelane, I also have the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Natural Resources and Energy, Mrs. Dorcas Dlamini. I also have next to the Principal Secretary of Natural Resources, I have the Director of International Education and Training Department under Taiwan ICDF, Mr. Xiang Wucai. And next to Mr. Wucai, I have Mr. Paul Zakaria, the CEO of the Zimbabwe Farmers Union. And next to him on the far left, the last one, I have Ms. Huan Yang Cheng, Kathy, who is the Secretary General of the Agriculture Multidiscipline Association of Taiwan. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are not going to waste any time. Our side event today is divided into 3 sessions. We are going to start with presentations from our esteemed panelists, and then we are going to get into a moderated session where we will have some discussions with the panel, and then we are going to move to the last part of our side event, which is going to be the question and answer session from the audience. So with these remarks, I would like to invite the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture to come and give us his presentation. PS, you are welcome. Oh, sorry.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My presentation is going to be a brief one, but I would basically like to share with you a comprehensive approach in developing agriculture value chains that are climate resilient. in the Kingdom of Eswatini. The outline that I have for my presentation has three main points, which is sustainable agriculture and climate change, Eswatini National Agricultural Investment Plan, and then the LUCIP 2 agricultural development. May I say that the Kingdom of Eswatini is one country that uses a lot of water for irrigation, which is estimated at about 95%. And at the same time, the Kingdom of Eswatini is an agro-based economy. So all our agricultural activities are intense because that is probably the main source of economy in the country. So I would like us to look at these few points here. Sustainable agriculture, in terms of our definition, is a way of producing food that is environmentally friendly, socially responsible, and economically viable. It involves the adoption of practices that promote the effective use of resources, reduce waste, and minimize the use of fossil fuels. Eswatini is encouraging water use of efficiency in irrigation systems. One of the ways in which we are encouraging the use or efficient use of water is the way in which we will talk about a bit later, but mainly we don't want to use irrigation systems that will consume a lot of water. And the Kingdom of Eswatini is also exploring use of solar for pumping in irrigation systems. This is to save energy and it lowers the production costs for our farmers. Conservation agriculture is piloted in some parts of the country. We will look at that in detail as well. Now, the Eswatini National Agriculture Investment Plan is a very essential document that the country has developed with the following purpose. Its aim is to support value chains by profiting, by profiling and designing government support for priority value chains. Then it is also building, developing, and operationalizing sustainable organizations, institutions, and systems. And then finally, we look at promoting effective and inclusive policy designs and implementation. We are targeting a number of sector development plan agreements that we want to focus on as the Kingdom of Eswatini. These are the 12 that we have so far, but this is not cast in stone. At some point in time, we may need to look out or find some more of these sector development plan agreements. The first one being beans, and then the other one is beef and goats, and then cotton. I'll just take a few of them and explain the situation that is happening in the country. Beans are quite an essential substitute for proteins in the country, yet we don't have enough, so we tend to import from other countries. They are also essential for school feeding programs, so that is why we want to make sure that they are produced in the right quantities. And then beef and goats, we have a very difficult situation that we're dealing with in the country, which is the existence of foot and mouth disease in South Africa, our neighboring state. So we are not able to import maybe any livestock from South Africa at the moment, but this is a situation that we have to work and deal with as a country. In terms of cotton, we've gone to the extent where we are now using GMOs for cotton production. Last year, we had a total number of 420 cotton farmers, and then this year, we have realized that they have hit over 800 cotton farmers. So we are actually encouraging farmers to be involved in the production of cotton. The theory of change that we are using here to influence our farmers into being productive in the country is a simple one. Basically, what we want to do is to create an enabling environment for our farmers and the nation at large so that they can get into commercial agriculture. This is our main interest. We want to enable them so that we engage the private sector to work with them in such a way that there are smooth operations and the playing ground is leveled. That is the biggest responsibility of government when it comes to the Eswatini National Agriculture Investment Plan. Again, we are hoping that the private sector will be able to provide or facilitate and actually the supply of goods and services, production, processing, and marketing. This is a cooperation that is essential for the kingdom in order to make sure that we are able to generate food and nutrition security, income and wealth, shared prosperity, resilience, and stability. At the same time, making sure that we're creating jobs and we're also doing value addition and we are exporting our products. Now, here are the various components or the programmatic framework of the Eswatini National Agriculture Investment Plan. We have 7 strategic axes that we have developed, and those have 33 investment areas. And under each of those investment areas, we have policy implementation instruments. Now, these will be able to provide us with the following outcomes. It will give us the rationale of doing or carrying out our activities, the aim, eligible expenditures, eligible implementation agencies, eligible beneficiaries, target, budget, implementation modalities. Just to mention or to go through a few of these strategic axes, I will look at the first one, which is enhancing and enabling capacity of the public sector. It is very important for us to understand and know the environment in which we are working, and at the same time we have to know the capability of the private sector, because as we are working, preparing the playground, we need to be sure that there will be players inside the ground after we are done with the job. The second point I want to emphasize on here is sustainable management of land, which is strategic axis number 4, and the management of natural resources and the environment. We don't want to be separated from the main pillars of environmental development, which will include the social aspect, environmental aspect, as well as the economic aspect. So we want to make sure that we are developing sustainable economies. And then the last one I will look at is developing technologies, which is strategic axis number 5, and innovation and infrastructure for agriculture. We have since realized that technology cannot be left out if you want to be serious with the production of food and if you're looking at food security and nutrition. So it is very important for us to take advantage of technology, and we must not stay in the position where we are all the time. We need to be innovative, and we need to develop our infrastructure with the help of the technology. Now, the Kingdom of Eswatini has been working on a number of activities, but there's one particular one that is of interest, which I would like to share with you, which is just basically a case study that we did in the country. Here, this is the development of the bulk water infrastructure in the Kingdom of Eswatini. Here is the first photograph is showing the sand trap. It is very essential that when we extract water from the rivers, especially the Usutu River, which has a lot of sand, then we have a point where we can trap the sand and make sure we remove it so that we don't have a lot of siltation in the dam. Secondly, we want to make sure that what we are doing there, it is such a way that it will give us the necessary technology that we are looking for and the necessary resources that we want to achieve. We have established the Lubovane Dam, which was actually finished in January 2009. It is up and running now and supplying water to the farmers. So this was one of the huge projects that was developed by the Kingdom of Eswatini. This project, Lucid 2 and others, has an aim of covering certain areas with these crops here. Banana, we are hoping that we will target 500 hectares. At the moment, we've covered 121.4 hectares. The next crop is vegetables. We are targeting 720 hectares. At the moment, we have covered 32 hectares. Fruit trees, we want to cover an area of 53 hectares. The activity has not yet started. We are still working on mass production of the seedlings. And then this gives us a total of 1,273 hectares that we need to cover with these crops. Now, irrigation systems that we use. As a plan that we want to reduce our water usage in the country, we are adopting a number of systems that we'll use for irrigation. For banana, for instance, we are using microjets. These ones, they conserve water, but make sure that they supply enough water to the crops or to the plants. And then the second one is drip irrigation. It really saves a lot of water, but it is important that it is taken care of to make sure that there's no blockages in the pipes, and we need to make sure that the water is clean and it will go through the pipes as planned. Again, a picture here showing part of the activities we have started on banana plantations with a total of 121.4 hectares covered by macrojet irrigation system. This is just to show that we are actually trying to do this so that we encourage the farmers or the individual farmers that it is important for them to understand the impact of their activity in terms of environmental aspects. It remains said that the agriculture sector is one of the biggest polluters or maybe producers of the greenhouse gas emissions. So we really need to take care of that and make sure that we are using systems that will control and possibly eliminate those types of pollution. So this is drip irrigation on the second photograph that we have actually put up in our projects. This is the produce that we have at the end. This is banana that has been produced, ready for ripening, and then sent to the various markets. Ladies and gentlemen, I have come to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, PS Agriculture. Can I just take this moment to kindly remind my esteemed panelists that each presentation is timed at 8 minutes, and we don't have a lot of liberty on the time allocated for the event. So I would humbly humbly urge that we try to stick to the time. Next, I would like to invite Mrs. Dorcas Dlamini, the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Natural Resources and Energy, to come and give us a presentation.
Thank you, Program Director Sanbonan. Good evening.
Good evening.
All protocol observed. Greetings to you all. The Kingdom of Eswatini is a small landlocked country in the southern Africa with an average annual rainfall of 500 to 1,200 millimeters. Eswatini is undergoing water security challenges because of the climate change, which is affecting the whole world. We too are not spared as a kingdom. Shifting rainfall patterns have affected the country's hydrological cycle with an increase of extremes in wet and dry periods that prevent adequate water uptake to replenish critical surface and groundwater reserves. Effects of climate change, such as changes in rainfall patterns, have a significant impact on our nation. Numerous factors compound the country water stress, such as increased water evaporation from high temperature experience increases water demand. Although some factors are beyond control, those within influence have the potential to increase the climate resilience of the hydrological cycle. These include water demand management, increasing water storage infrastructure, and improving water use efficiency to maximize optimal use of the available water resource. Climate change effects are primarily felt in our agriculture and water sector, essential for our economy and livelihoods. PS has said it, agriculture is considered as the mainstay of the Eswatini economy and is the main source of livelihood for about 70% of our people. The sector is also the primary consumer of water, utilizing over 95% of the available water resource of the country. Therefore, any changes in water availability and impacts the water sector adversely impact agriculture production and food security in the country. Eswatini battles with food insecurity and agricultural production to meet our dietary needs. Under rain-fed conditions, we experience very poor yields with yield gaps reaching up to 200% of maize, which is our staple food crop. Climate change will exacerbate these issues, making Eswatini more vulnerable to food insecurity. This state will further worsen poverty levels and threaten the livelihoods of numerous rural communities in the country. To increase resilience of communities, alleviate poverty, and adapt to climate change, Eswatini has implemented several initiatives and projects, such as Lower Usutu Smallholder Irrigation Project, that is LUCI, which is the country's flagship poverty alleviation project using water in agriculture to change livelihoods. Through this project, we have constructed 155 million cubic meters reservoirs and a distribution system together with on-farm irrigation works to irrigate 11,500 hectares of land. The project has targeted 3,418 households, representing 20,166 people, with 2,600 households benefiting directly. The project has also established 87 smallholder farmer companies producing mainly sugarcane and banana as anchor crops. Vegetables and maize are also produced in 1,000 hectares. Despite such efforts and the accrued success so far from LUCIP 1 project, there are observed shortcomings and lessons being learned from the activities on the ground. Somebody might ask and say, how do we get into agriculture? We work together. Their agriculture, we are natural resources, water is under our ministry. So The government of Eswatini knew from a long time ago that this thing of working on silo doesn't work. We have to come together and work together for us to develop our country. These include the lack of innovation, below optimal utilization of the available infrastructure opportunities for climate adaptation. Presently, water use monitoring by water sector institutions indicates that non-efficient use of water resources by the beneficiary smallholder farmers. There is a need to invest in more efficient irrigation systems, such as the drip and center pivot irrigation. The PS has mentioned that. This is LUCIP 1. In LUCIP 2, PS realized that before he started working on LUCIP 2, he saw these challenges and needed to correct them. This is what he has done. He has showed us pictures that he's doing the drip irrigation and the other systems. To manage the irrigation water demand better and to promote effective irrigation practices, there is need to invest in technologies to enhance soil moisture monitoring and to introduce automated irrigation scheduling. As bulk infrastructure is available, there is an opportunity to diversify livelihoods initiative to include other fishing, farming, hydroponics, and ecotourism and agroforestry to increase communities and farmers' resilience. Another challenge lies in limits of institutional capacity to manage water utilization within LUCIP. In line with the government decentralization policy and the Water Act of 2003, there is need for effective and sustainable water management and governments for equitable use of the country's water resources at river basin levels. Strengthening the capacity of water management institutions like the Joint River Basin Authority Project Board, established in 2020, will facilitate better water allocation use monitoring, including metering and via remote sensing, stakeholder engagement, and technological advancement in improving water use efficiency in these times of water shortage and increased demand. Additionally, applying economic instruments such as developing and implementing water pricing regulation will promote efficient water use and cost recovery. Even though as a country, we Swazis, we believe that water is from God. Water is a free resource. The notion that we need to pay for water is still difficult, but we are getting there. We are discussing with the stakeholders concerned so that we can reach an agreement because we need to pay for the water. The conversion of large areas to sugar farming has also led to the loss of natural habitats and biodiversity. Habitats and biodiversity are critical for our ecosystem services and resilience. Climate change will further threaten our biodiversity, as species may struggle to adapt or find suitable habitats. There is need for initiatives that promote healthy vegetation and root structures to dissipate rainfall energy, slow surface water flow, decrease runoff and erosion, increase water infiltration into the soil. Having ecosystem-based adaptation efforts in broader catchments will help to reduce flood risk and improve water quality and retention. Our heavy reliance on sugarcane, a water-thirsty crop as a primary cash crop, exposes us to a very high water demand, market fluctuation, price shocks, and trade barriers. With climate change impacting water availability, we need to diversify our crop portfolio for more drought-resistant and less water-dependent crops, as well as exploring other livelihood options. Engaging in farming high-value crops will reliably and profitable value chains will optimize the benefits accrued per drop of water applied. Ladies and gentlemen, Eswatini is committed to adapting to climate change and ensuring the sustainable management of our water resource to support agricultural production. While we have made progress, we acknowledge the challenges and gaps that we still face. We require increased investment, innovation, and collaboration to overcome these obstacles and achieve our adaptation goals. Therefore, we call on international community, private sector, civil society, and local communities to support us with the necessary financial and technical and human resource. Together, we can build a resilient and a prosperous future for our people and the planet. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, PS, for that presentation. I would like to invite the Director for International Education and Training Department, Taiwan ICDF, Mr. Xiang Wucai, to come and give his presentation.
So thank you, moderator. Dear panelists and ladies and gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. Thank you for having Taiwan ICDF to share our experience. To share our experience and the project we are implementing in Eswatini of the low carbon agriculture. And to begin with, I would like a very quick brief about the Taiwan ICDF to let you know, have better understanding of what Taiwan ICDF is and how we do. So Taiwan ICDF is a government-funded organization and responsible for implementing official development assistance with our partner country for social and economic development. And now we have 74 ongoing projects around the world and over 250 specialists stationed on site to work with partners. And to carry out our mission, we deliver a series of assistance that focus on the four main operations. This includes technical cooperation to provide the technical assistance, and lending and investment to provide the financial support, and the education and the training to provide the capacity building. And the last one is a humanitarian assistance to provide to enhance the resilience. And based on the Taiwan's priorities, Taiwan's strengths, we set our priority on the area of the agriculture, health, ICT, and the environment and the SME development. Now move back to the agriculture sector. And Taiwan ICDF has been working with Eswatini to develop the agriculture over decades. And it's pretty long, longer than my age. I will let you know. And the ultimate goal of the agriculture development we set with Eswatini is to achieve the self-reliance on the agriculture production instead of heavily relying on the imported or relying on the single crop. In order to achieve the goal we set, to self-reliance on agricultural production, we set up a system. It's called the localized food producing chain, and it includes two aspects, from the technical aspect and from the social aspects. And we put our efforts on increasing production in quantity and in quality. And we also provide a capacity building for encouraging farmers applying the new technology. And we raise the public awareness of changing the consuming behavior and it could reduce 10 to 15% of carbon emission by changing behavior. And we also bridge the marketing with farmer, and we want to help the market to get more stable and high quality supply from the farmer, and help the farmer to get more profit from the market. To start our project, we try to deliver a concept. First, that is local production agriculture should always be our first choice. And so based on this principle, we establish several nursery farm, tissue culture lab, and livestock breeding farm to supply the farmer with healthy and sufficient piglet, seedling, and fish fry, and to reduce the carbon emission, and the most important, to strengthen the local food supply chain. We also encourage farmers to apply the new technology, new material. For example, using the cover material and the dripping system, just like the PS you just mentioned, to prevent the water evaporation or to reduce the water consumption up to 90%. And we also transform the pig manure into the compost to make the soil more healthy, more organic. And here I want to emphasize that the new skill or the material we introduce to farmer, it must be meet two requirements. That is reliable and affordable. And in 2018, we installed 10 kilowatt solar panel on the roof of the pig farm, and you can generate the energy up to 40% for the entire electricity consumption. And absolutely, applying the clean energy could reduce the carbon emission and increase the local supply. So, apart from technical assistance, we also provide a series of capacity building for enhancing human resources. Taiwan ICDF invite government officials, head of farmer association, researchers, scholars to Taiwan for short-term training. We also provide full scholarship to young talents for pursuing higher education in Taiwan, and we hope they can contribute what they have learned, their expertise, after returning home. And in the last 3 years, we focused our training on the smarter agriculture and the climate education, because we want to equip the trainee with the cutting-edge knowledge of smart culture to combat the upcoming challenge of climate change. And here I want to show you the very typical case of the smart culture. We call it the precision culture. We can use the drone to load the different lens of the camera and to scan the field, to collect the image, to collect the data, and put into the computer. Then the system will help you to identify which plant is infected and which area of soil need to more water or need more fertilizer, and give you a good advice to help you to do the right treatment. It's very similar like when people feel uncomfortable, they went to the hospital to get diagnosis first. Then the doctor will give you a good advice and to help you to do the good treatment. So what does the precision agriculture is mean to us? It means we can use minimum resources to get the same or even better productivity than we use a conventional farming skill. Honestly speaking, the farmer, they may not really care about the reducing the carbon emission, but they do care about reduce the cost. So we are very glad that the smaller agriculture could meet both concerns of reducing carbon emission and the reducing cost. We all agree that the challenge of the climate change will become more critical, and we will see more multiple hazards that we never met before. The UN report said we need to produce 70% more food in order to feed a total population, global population of 9.6 billion by 2050. To produce 70% more agriculture is quite challenging, as hard as to keep temperature not exceed more than 1.5 degrees. So Taiwan ICDF, we will keep promoting and facilitating to apply the climate-smart agriculture, and we hope we could achieve the triple win. The triple win. What triple win? To increase the productivity, to enhance the resilience, and to reduce the carbon emission. And today we have many panelists that come from the Africa. So in closing, I would like to quote a saying from Africa. If you want to go fast, you go alone. If we want to go far, we go together. So this is a long way to combat the climate change, and Taiwan ICDF would love to go with everyone to every international community. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Director. I think one of the key highlights of this COP is that we intend to go together. So it's encouraging to hear that Taiwan ICDF also adopts the theme of not leaving anyone behind. So at this point, I would like to invite Mr. Paul Zakaria to give his presentation.
Thank you very much, and very good evening to us all. Paul Zakaria is my name. I am from the Zimbabwe Farmers Union in the southern part of Africa. We share borders with South Africa, and we find Eswatini close by. So you are our neighbors. So I'm going to talk about the role, purpose, and the relevance of farmer organizations in achieving sustainable agri-food systems. Slowly I was becoming Swazi, Eswatini. No, things have changed, it's now Eswatini. So my outline is a very brief one, a quick background, and then I'll be dealing with critical interventions that show why we need to adapt as farmer organizations. Then I'll round off with a brief on the critical roles that farmer organizations have to play. Now, farmer organizations, traditionally, they are member-based and they are driven by members in terms of their development and in terms of their management. Now, things have moved. A lot of things have shifted from a few decades ago to where we are now, particularly with climate change issues. We are now having to deal with a more sophisticated playing field, such that robust systems are required to ensure that farmer organizations maintain relevance and they provide services to their members. And I've always said back in my country that farmer organizations are private sector. There's always this tug of war between government and the notion that farmer organizations must be an extension of government. Farmers are private sector, and as such, their organizations are also private sector. So they have to compete with every other player, the markets involved. But now it becomes very complicated when you bring in the subject of climate change. So the background to it, there's an admission already that agriculture is responsible for greenhouse gas emissions, up to about 30% maybe, 30 to 40% if you like. And this is coming from livestock production, fertilizer uses, and deforestation as farmers are opening up new fields. But never mind that. Let's go to what is ideal. The goal should be to lower carbon agriculture in order to reduce the environmental impacts. And at the same time, this is where it begins to be very, very complicated, maintaining or even increasing productivity and profitability. I allude to the points that have been made earlier on, that it is important that we prepare ourselves in terms of food production for an increasing population, but also under very difficult situations. In the southern parts of Africa at the moment, we are experiencing the worst possibly, the worst El Nino, the severest El Nino that the region has ever experienced. In Zimbabwe, we haven't received rains up till now, and yet we are used to receiving our rains from about October. So there are these critical interventions that we will need to be looking at in order to achieve that goal. We will definitely need to reduce our fertilizer use, use renewable energy sources and improve soil health, many things that we already know about, conservation agriculture being one of them, and even going a bit fancy about the vehicles. We will need also to drive the most efficient vehicles, and that the vehicles that will also emit low carbon. Now, amongst the critical interventions, I've picked just a few. Water efficient agriculture, which Pierce has alluded to in his presentation. I will not belabor that. But the usual conservation agriculture practices, looking at crop cover, rotations, drought-tolerant varieties, and add to that water harvesting, irrigation. So you can imagine now the complexities of the issues that farmer organizations have to be dealing with. And the farmer organizations should not, and I will maintain, especially where we are right now, should not rest and outsource some of these technical skills. By way of capacity building, we definitely need to ensure that the language is congruous between planners and implementers. The other factor is, which is adjoined to that one, is institutional capacity development at the farmer level. And this is where we will need also to balance things off together, because there is always this belief that farmers do not know what is happening, and therefore farmers must be assisted. I would like to add assist, that's very polite, assisted to plan, and at the same time plan for them. So there is the politics that goes together with the sanitizing some of these things, where we plan for farmers and under the guise that we are assisting. So the voice of the farmer has to be heard, because I'll tell you, I was discussing with a colleague yesterday, and I was telling them that when you talk about climate change mitigation and adaptation, farmers have been doing this for a very long time, and this is why they still exist, and this is why there is still food on the table. So the indigenous knowledge systems, they will need also to be taken on board as we bring all these sophisticated ideas, on the table. So at the farmer organization level, we will need to bring in competencies that will help us to carry this subject, of farmer organization further. Then investments also in resilient growth. Resilient, obviously, because we are facing very, very difficult and challenging times. So investment is another thing that will add on to the discourse. So the farmer organizations, as they evolve, they will definitely need to see to it that they measure up in as far as that is concerned. Research and development, participatory research, this is what I will emphasize on. And this you will also pick the indigenous knowledge systems that I alluded to earlier on. Research has to be participatory for it to be useful. It has to be useful because it's going to be used by somebody. So researchers, gone is the time and gone are the days when we would do our research coming from a research background, do our research, get your PhD, and then pack the document somewhere, filed, neatly tucked away for safekeeping. So we will need to be using this information. Innovation and technology, ICTs, mechanization, so you can see how woke our organizations, farmer organizations, are supposed to be. And we move on. Let me look at the roles that I said I was going to end up with. The roles that farmer organizations have to play. Apart from farmer mobilization and organization, we will need to know who the farmer is, the new farmer. Things have evolved. Young people are coming on board who have ICT savvy and many other things. So farmer organizations, in their role, will need to be able to embrace the change. The youth demographic will need to take advantage of it. The capacity building, I spoke about that, and then continuous awareness raising. So farmer organizations now need to move with the times in order for them to be ahead of the game so that they raise awareness of the issues as they arise. And then when we talk about climate finance, for instance, the depth of the subject itself, the ability to calculate what needs to go to the farmer and who needs to meet the financial obligations is becoming more and more critical. So we will need to collect as much data as is possible and not outsource the data that we use to make decisions. So we need statisticians, economists, and many other qualifications within farmer organizations for us to be able to meet these roles and be efficient in our evidence-based advocacy and lobbying. The advocacy and lobbying has always been the mandate of farmer organizations, but that too has to move with the times. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Paul, for your presentation. We will quickly get into the last presentation, taking into consideration that we are running a little behind our schedule. So I would like to invite Ms. Kathy to come and give us her presentation.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for your coming in so late in the evening of Saturday. I am Casey Chan, the Secretary General of Agriculture Multidiscipline Association of Taiwan. In response to the topic of this side event tonight, we would like to share our experience 10 years, that how we build up a agriculture low carbon food traceability supply chain. Oh, next page. Okay. I would like to talk about the initiation, why we have to build up this agricultural traceability supply chain. In 2013, the Ministry of Agriculture in Taiwan, they want to introduce a new farming practice to the farmers and teach them to use less pesticide and less fertilizer to decrease the impact to the land. However, the farmers, they refuse to join this because they're just asked, where is the market? Why should I do it? Who can guarantee we must have the revenue? So in order to resolve this issue, NOA just come to talk with us. We work together, have a brainstorming. We said that, okay, we find a market for them. So that's why we kick off the traceability restaurant in 2013. In the very beginning, it's really a tough job. However, we did it in 10 years. Now we have 1,100 restaurants in Taiwan. And that in the beginning, we also solicit those farmers' products to the restaurant, and as we call it, the Taiwan Good Agriculture Platters, and also the organic products. And why we can attract this restaurant to use their products with much more higher price, because we build a traceability system to let a consumer understand where the food comes from. Especially at that time, Taiwan just happened a food security problem, food safety problem. Okay, and so we quickly just build up the face of the consumers, and they would like to eat at those traceability restaurants. I think you have the pamphlet on your hand. You can follow more details because there is not too much time to talk about this, okay? And also later on, this year we disclose the carbon emission information of these ingredients from the farm to the restaurants. So the purpose is that we want to educate the consumers to have more information about where the food comes from and then how many carbon emissions generated during the transportation. Okay, next page. Next page. We use the shrimp farm for a reference. When the farmers, they capture the shrimps, their first time, immediately they have to input the data into the platform. And then when the shrimps delivered to the processing plant for the package, after package, the processing plant will key in the data for those shipments, where should be delivered, and the address of the destination and relating the data. And when the restaurant receives the shipment and preparing the meals, the information will come together and then disclose it in the front end, open for the browse of the customers. Okay, next. And of course, the customers just can enjoy the meal and comfortable and know how many carbon emission they decreased from their meals. And that's the roadmap I quickly introduced during these 10 years what we have done. Just as you know, we launched this campaign in 2013, and also we invite the One Prime Group to join. One Prime Group is the #1 and the biggest carting group in Taiwan, and in 2016. And then later on, we invited well-known global blending McDonald's Taiwan join 2018. And so far, we currently have, just as I said, 1,100 restaurants, and also including hospitals, schools, and corporations to join. And also, we just help those numerous farmers locally and build up their shipping data in our data bank. And I think with that have implemented the goal SDG 12, that's responsible consumption and production. For the future, of course, we want to invite more restaurants and the companies, and all the most important, the last mile, that's well-educated the public to trust and to believe those the food, the ingredients. When they choose the meals, they realize they are going to live and go together. Okay, next slide. that's the branding currently we have been serving now. And we will hold the awarding ceremony every year with the star rating to honor and thanks for the restaurant, what they have done together for our customers. Next slide. And just as we set a goal in 2019 that we want to pursue SDG 12. That's responsible consumption and the production. And we think that how can we do it? Because it's very difficult to convince the customer to believe and to say that we have the capability to do this. So we invite many listed companies and NGOs. So far, we already invited about their employees, around 100,000 employees and their families. And we also asked our traceability restaurants provide a preferential program and to serve those honorable guests of these companies. Next slide. And you can see that's our cooperation list, including the Acer and also the Taiwan High-Speed Rail and Garmin, they are American company, have a factory in Taiwan. And also the Thai Sugar. Thai Sugar is the national-owned, the biggest agriculture product producer. And that's the concept that we are delivering during this campaign, that we tell them you can eat at the traceability restaurant and you buy in a market for those traceable ingredients. That's all the parts that we are doing to show the farmers they can secure their profit. Okay, next slide. As we say, diet at the traceability restaurant. Buy eco-farming ingredients. That's we encourage the restaurant to use more and more traceable ingredients and eco-farming ingredients too. And that's the purpose, just to secure the eco-farming, the profit of the farmers. You know, farmers are the major important role player in this doing, because they're the person doing the landfill. And then when they believe this is the trend, and so they will do much more eco-farming system, just help mitigate the climate change and keep the ecological sustainability. Next slide, please. And that's the final page. Vision of our green living future. That's what we want to do, because we already have the system, we have the service. We want to foster green living behavior of the public. Let them know, because everyone has 3 meals a day, right? So you have many time to choose what you can do. And also, each time you choose the traceable ingredient, actually just help the farmers to make more endeavors to do the eco-farming practice. And they will use more technology to help increase their productivity and also their profit. And then we also invite the corporation to join, because so far they are pursuing the ESG policy. And we hope that ESG policy will have more resources come into the agriculture and help them to support the natural, ecological environment and also the biodiversity. Okay, thanks. This is the final presentation tonight. And thanks. Hope you have a wonderful journey together with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan, for that presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, can we give our esteemed panelists another round of applause? So we are quickly going to get into the moderated panel session. So based on the question, based on the presentations and the theme for our discussions, and also what has been happening so far in COPE, we have prepared a couple of questions for each of the panelists. But unfortunately, I had quite a number of questions. I was allowed to get creative and ask questions, but due to the time, I think we will try to take it down a notch so that maybe we can also get the audience to ask one or two questions. So I will get right into it. I will start with you, Kathy, because your presentation is still fresh. So when you were making your presentation, it's quite a complex. It seems quite a complex project that you are doing. Very intensive, as much as yes, it's centered around cutting emissions. But I can imagine the kind of challenges that you have had trying to implement the project. So could you just briefly tell us about the challenges that you have had, and also the lessons, the key lessons from implementing the project, and how you intend to scale up the project to the other restaurants, or to bring in more restaurants for the Green Health Living project?
Okay. Just as I say that it's very difficult to make the farmers believe that the less pesticide and less fertilizers can still maintain their revenue and their productivity. And so, and each time we visit them, they will say, "Where's the market? Please let me know. Can you guarantee?" And no one can guarantee, of course, but we must find out the market. Usually, in the past, farmers can only sell their products to the seller, group seller, okay, dealer, and then they can never touch the restaurant because they have no time to visit the restaurant, of course, and the restaurant will not accept farmer to visit them. That's the parts image, and we just break the rule. Within the 10 years, firstly, we visit the restaurants. They are all very, very famous, just like one group or McDonald's, okay? They will say, "My branding is bigger than yours." We call this, the name, just as you said, we call it a traceability restaurant. In Chinese, we said it's 溯源餐厅, okay? That means all the part of the food that can be traced by the very good ecosystem practice, and that's helped the health of the people. We have to convince them, but they still doubt it. So we have to build up a traceability system from farm to the restaurant. When they show this data to the restaurant owner, they found, okay, this really helped them to resolve the risk of the food safety. Because in 2016 is the time that Taiwan suffered a lot of food scandal issues at that time. And so they really have the risk of the branding. So at that time, we just build up and help them to get rid of the risk. So that's why the restaurant joined us quickly during the time of 2016 and 2018. That's the first milestone that we break 1,000 restaurants. And so far, we still keep growing. But now we just increase we scale up. We try to scale up with a new concept that's SDG 12. Because so far, Taiwan, the restaurant and the corporation in Taiwan, they are eager to join the SDG goal, but they don't know how to implement this. And we have the farmers, we have the restaurants, and we just invite them to join together with us. And also, the ESG is not a responsibility of corporation only, also part of the responsibility of their employees. Now the owner, they believe that this is true. So, and how the employees can implement their personal ESG, okay? And we just tell them that you just eat, when you choose the meals, you can choose the traceable ingredients. You can choose the farmers, use the eco-farming practice to plant their crops. That's the way you can realize your personal ESG. So this is the second round, and so far we are trying to scale up, and this is the trend of the UN is pursuing. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. And you rightly highlight that it is the farmer that must be convinced, because that is where the production chain starts. And Paul gave us some of the roles that farmer organizations can play. So moving right to you, Paul, and you rightly highlighted some areas of investment or critical investments that farmer organizations can play. So what do you think, based on the kind of projects that Kathy is talking about, and also realizing that sometimes pulling farmers together through the farmer organizations, they get to also realize issues of economies of scale. So maybe in dealing with farmer organizations in Zimbabwe, what do you think, especially issues of technology and innovation, can play to drive the kind of low carbon investments in the agriculture field? What has been the lessons in Zimbabwe around the work of farmer organizations?
Well, thank you. That's a very good question. To begin with, farmers, they do respond to the external environment, and they also respond a lot to information that they know will work. And this is where I agree with Kathy quite a bit. Sometimes you see the resistance to change. It is purely based on possibly lack of information, lack of knowledge, okay? And also proven cases that there is money at the end of the deal. Farmers are business people. They make business decisions. And as adults, farmers learn only when they are motivated to learn. So if you bring in a deal and they understand that to move from this point to that point, I will need to add on, this is the capacity building issues I was referring to at the farmer level, that they will need to build on certain knowledge, skill sets and so on. They can go the whole way to fulfill that. But dealing with the other private sector players, the one thing that we have noticed is information is never given, in full. So the other player knows exactly what they want. They see the dollar sign somewhere, but they want to cut through the whole process and make as much as they can at the expense of the other player. So my long and short answer to this is, let's put all the cards on the table. Sometimes you're better off owning 5% of something than 100% of nothing. So if you declare it, you grow together, and farmers are willing to go that long haul. And where they do not have the capacity to take on new skills, farmers can actually go the extra mile to hire. I've seen farm managers, very qualified farm managers. We also now have precision agriculture in Zimbabwe, where because there is a lucrative market somewhere, and because if I, as the farmer, have to qualify to supply that particular market and have to go through the audits for gap, certification, for instance, I will do everything within my power to get through to that market. So farmers are business people, and we need to respect that, and that we put all our cards on the table. Contract farming, for instance, if you are to contract any farmer, you really need to understand that they are coming in also for the money. They want to see the dollar sign. So if the dollar sign is not there, there is no motivation. So we don't grow crops or rear animals purely because we are patriotic. No, we want to make the money as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Paul, for that concise response. Now I will move to Mr. Sidney Smelane, the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture. Mr. Smelane, I think since our time here at COPE, a lot of issues has been discussed, including some of the outcomes of the GST report that has highlighted huge gaps between where we are and where we are trying to go, and also the shortage in terms of the finance. And in your presentation, you highlighted that Eswatini, the Ministry of Agriculture, has developed the Agriculture Investment Plan. So what do you think are the entry points within the the National Agriculture Investment Plan, maybe to come up with interventions that will result in low carbon low carbon food systems? What do you think are the entry points within the investment plan?
Thank you very much, moderator. This is a difficult one in the sense that we need to work on the mindset of the farmers. It's not just a straightforward process whereby you call meetings and expect people to understand certain concepts. However, that is part of it. So what we have decided to do is to develop what we call commodity associations. We have one for grain farmers, another one for horticulture. We're still working on the one for meat. The reason we want to work with these farmers closely is because we understand that until or unless they get the concept that we are serious producers of greenhouse gases, they will not be in a position to adjust, or they will not want to adjust. Now, the way or the best way to explain to them these issues is during these meetings. You present documentation to them, you present them scientific results that we've done this and this and this, and our interest is to make sure that we cut down on the greenhouse gases that are produced through agricultural processes, especially because of the ruminants that naturally produce methane. It becomes a challenge to convince the farmers that, okay, we need to change what we feed to our cattle because we want to cut down on methane production. If they change to other types of feed, what tends to happen is that the costs get higher. And once they get higher, the farmers then will not see any value in changing the kind of feed that they have been given to their cattle. So this is what needs close cooperation, and we need to have a very good entry point in the sense that we need to build trust amongst the farmers so that they know that this is going to help them as well. It is not just something to try and frustrate them, because clearly we've understood, as it has been mentioned by the last speaker, that this is a business venture. Farmers are not venturing into farming just for the sake of doing it, but they are expecting returns. So whatever you do with them, you must make sure that they can see the value of what you want them to do or to understand. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, PS. I will move to the PS in the Ministry of Natural Resources, Margaret Dokas Lamini. Margaret Lamini, your presentation focused on water, and of course we are talking about agriculture, and we cannot talk about agriculture without talking about water. And lately, you cannot talk about agriculture and water without talking about energy. So the water, food and energy nexus is one of the key pillars now in terms of combined way of moving forward, or a sustainable approach towards food systems. You have elaborated quite succinctly on what Eswatini is doing, or what Eswatini has been doing in that avenue, and you also highlighted that you are working with the Ministry of Agriculture. After everything has been said, I think there's just a few remaining days for COPE. So what are your key takeaways from COPE, especially when it comes to the food, energy and water nexus? And what do you think are the immediate tangible actions you can start working on when you go back home to concretize some of the discussions and agreements that have happened here at COPE?
Thank you, moderator. I think I would say what we are doing as a country, we are a little bit ahead of COPE. You spoke about the food nexus, water, agriculture. We as a ministry, we are supplying water to the rural communities. We want them to have water, but we have discovered that they cannot have enough water, or if they do have that particular skill, providing them with water, in the long run it stops working because they cannot afford to pay for their water because electricity is a little bit expensive for them. Here we are talking about the rural communities who are dependent, some of them are dependent on agriculture to provide themselves with food. So what we have come up, we have a fund at home, the energy fund, where we provide electricity for the rural communities. So on that fund, we have introduced a part whereby we will be providing solar so that they can pump water. Instead of using energy, they will use the solar. We have started on that project and processes are way ahead. I believe when we go home, something will be done because a tender is already out. Secondly, the takeaways from here, from the COP28, we have realized that we cannot work on silos. I have said it before and I'm mentioning it again. We cannot achieve anything without each other. Lucid 2 has come up with structures whereby we've got dams, reservoirs. Those reservoirs, they belong to the Ministry of Natural Resources and we have to maintain them. But on our own, with their costs, we cannot succeed. That's why we need each other. We should continue working together as departments as long as we meet somewhere to deliver the mandate of providing for the better livelihoods of our people. We need to do that as a country. Thank you.
Thank you, PS. And we hope our continued cooperation with our partners, the Taiwan ICDF, can begin to come into some of these challenges that the PS is making, is highlighting, and we can look at sustainable solutions, how we can move forward in an integrated manner. Let me move now to Director Xiang Wucai. And the Director, one of your key focuses as the Director for International Education and Training Department within Taiwan ICDF, you are responsible for training. And you have highlighted some of the assistance you give to farmers in terms of training them on climate smart agriculture. I just want to add a different dimension which has been coming up through the different COPs, is that the youth has always been left behind in terms of whether it's programming, in terms of whether it's decisions making, and you being responsible for training. How is the International Education and Training Department working with the youth in terms of integrating them within the agriculture sector, particularly what Taiwan ICDF is doing? How have you been working with the youth? Are there any prospects? And if you do, what is happening with the youth?
Okay, I just mentioned about the smart agriculture. The smart agriculture is a high knowledge intensive area. It's not the high laboring area. So it means that we need to train the people to identify which area is being affected, which area need more water or fertilizer. It depends on your experience. It depends on the knowledge. So to train the people to use the smart agriculture, Taiwan ICDF, we have held many different kinds of training, including the providers, the scholarship to help our partner country to send their people to learn these kinds of training. In last year, we initiated the climate education program, the master program. We wanted the people, they could learn this kind of skill, the new skill to help the people to deal with the crisis of the climate change. You know, we won't train every farmer with this kind of skill, just like we won't train everyone as a medical doctor. We just want to make sure every farmer can get this kind of service, just like every patient can get a service from the doctor. I just mentioned the ICDF, the major or the skill we delivered to the farmers. We always meet two requirements, reliable and affordable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director. I think given that we are only remaining with 3 minutes, I would like to invite just one or two questions from the floor. If we have any questions from the floor, just 2 questions. Can I allow just 2 questions before we wrap up? We are only left with 2 minutes. I'll start with Mr. Shiba. Just 30 seconds, Mr. Shiba, your question, and then also Mr. Mamba, our Chief Economist.
Thank you. It's directed to the smart agriculture technologies, the drones and other things that are being introduced, like smart agriculture. How can we work together to cut the costs? Because the rural farming community is struggling with costs. I think that's the major challenge and the major thing that we need to address.
In Taiwan, now we have some innovation company to provide this kind of service. It is just like the machine factory service. The farmer, you don't have to buy the bigger combine, the big machine to cultivate your land. You just ask land to provide this kind of service. So in Taiwan's experience, we have this kind of company. They could provide this kind of service. And the service, now ICDF, we just want to make sure this kind of service could be cost down to make every farmer could access this kind of service. So we just like I mentioned, we will continue to provide this kind of training and to help the Farmer Association to establish this kind of company and to provide the service.
Okay. One last question from Mr. Mamba, our Chief Economist.
Okay, thank you to the panelists. It's just one small question, I think, directed to Ms. Kathy on the issue of organic and eco-farming. It's just to ask what are the, presumably to be able as a farmer to be incentivized to participate in that scheme where you are producing in this eco-friendly manner, there must be some kind of an incentive. So it's just to ask at what sort of premium do the agriculture products produced in this manner sell for, maybe compared to the ordinary agriculture products, if there's any kind of premium price that they sell it. Thank you.
Actually, government already provide many training courses to help the farmers to learn of the eco farming practice. That's free from the government. Also, the Ministry of Agriculture, they will also provide, they will compensate the cost of the certified. The farmer, they join the eco farming, the food ingredients must be verified by the certification body. And this will be expensive price, actually. And the government will pay part of this to encourage those farmers to get a certificate. Just like organic or TGAP, that will be certified. And with this logo, they use this branding, they will have a better price in the market. Especially, we already encourage the restaurant to buy the products. They must have this logo on their product. And there's a trace code, you see. When they deliver sell out the products, they must key in the data of the code, the barcode, that will be, so that's the record will be together coming with the ingredients and supply to the market or to the restaurant. So that's it actually is a whole package that Taiwan government is doing. And they will have a special person to facilitate how to join and how to make it come true. And that's the way we are doing. And we are the last mile to help the market accept these products with higher, better price. And then the conventional, traditional products, if they still use conventional farming practice. So that's make the difference of the price to incent the farmers to join this new practice. That's the way that we are doing in Taiwan. I hope it
Thank
can
you.
answer your question.
Thank you, Kathy. I think we have run the mile of our side event. Ladies and gentlemen, can we give a round of applause for our panelists? And thank you to our lovely audience for being patient and staying the entire duration of our side event. From me, your moderator, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and have a good evening.
Thank you.